Hello everyone and welcome back to your professional diploma in digital marketing and SEO. Today is a practical lesson, so I hope that you are comfortable and that you can see your screen clearly. We are going to be creating a campaign within the Facebook Business Manager today. All new tools can look overwhelming when you first work with them. What we'll be looking at specifically is, of course, how to create a campaign in Business Manager. We'll also look at naming conventions, the targeting selection, and then the structure of that campaign. And then finally, we'll also be looking at some ad copy or creative assets. Before we dive into it though, I'd just like to go over what you will have in place or what you need to have in place before setting up a Facebook campaign. So the first thing that you would have done is create a Facebook page. After that, you would have created a Facebook ad account on business.facebook.com, and this entails linking your Facebook page and then creating the account. The screenshot here that you're looking at is just really created for the purposes of the lesson. We're going to be going through this example a bit later. Then you would have implemented your pixel across your site so that you can actually track actions beyond those vanity metrics that we spoke about in the last lesson. You will have also added your billing and your business details. So this example here, it does include something about a credit line, but that wouldn't be applicable to a new account. So this is just an example. You would have prepped your creative assets. This example here is a Facebook newsfeed image. I'm not going to go through the full specs now as this information is very easily available, but do pop me an email if you would like a specific link. However, you can find it very easily by just searching on Google or your preferred search engine. The ratio of these images would generally be 4:5. So the example here, it would be 1080 pixels by 1350. And what is most important to remember with any of these images is that text must take up no more than 20% of your image. This is an example of the same image, but it is a square and it has a link. It needs to be at least 1080 by 1080 pixels. If you are creating a campaign with Facebook or Instagram stories, then the image requirement changes to a full vertical format. The ratio should be 9:16. So an example here is 1080 by 1920. The minimum width is 500 pixels. If you can though, make your images at least 1080 by 1920. If you are using video, then you will have these prepped. They do have the same aspect ratio as stories in vertical format, but there are also landscape formats and sizes. As I just said, there are several different ratios for videos, which are essentially the same as the image examples that we've been through, but here is quite an easy reference. The square one, which is the second image, that is the same as a newsfeed image with a link. And then next to that, we have the 4:5 vertical ratio. It's important to note that the same image and video assets or requirements apply to both Instagram and Facebook. Then you would have also prepped your ad copy, including call to action options or different call to action buttons. You would have also prepped your targeting, which would be including the location and the device. And then, of course, your budget for the length of the campaign. Now, we will be going through all of this in the campaign creation. So we are going to be creating a campaign from scratch. And to do this, I have prepared some assets or examples for a furniture company. I do need to add that I haven't detailed a comprehensive strategy around this. It is a made-up brand and a strategy is not the focus of today's lesson or the core focus. If I had built up a whole strategy, there would be a lot more information than what I'm about to show you, but it does give you a clear example. So I have prepped these images. First up, some images for a carousel. These are 1080 by 1080, not as you're seeing them, but they have been saved as that size. And we're going to be advertising or using the carousel on the newsfeed with a link. So that's why it is this size. And you can see here that I've tried to, instead of having 3 completely different images, it's combining one image, but in quite a creative way, so to speak. Then we have some single images, as I want to show you that you can add more than one type of ad to a single ad set. I have also prepped ad copy, call to actions, and links. This document here would form the digital strategy and assets for the campaign. As I said just now, this would be a lot more detailed had I created a full-blown strategy. We also have a target audience, which is quite broad, but if you've ever worked in an agency environment or dealt with clients, then this is a pretty normal brief. It's really up to you as the digital marketer or strategist to find the audiences within this target range that perform best. If it is your business and you have a lot of data to work with, then you would be utilizing your buyer personas, your existing customers, and more. You'll see the sheet properly just now when we build the campaign, and we will be also creating more than one ad set just to demonstrate how you would target different audiences within the same campaign. One more very, very important thing that we have brought up before is naming conventions. Just as a reminder, a naming convention is an agreed upon standard for naming things. It is crucial for tracking management and reporting. Maybe not so much when you just have 1 or 2 small campaigns, but implementing naming conventions from the beginning will make life so much easier for you when you have lots of campaigns or data to analyze. To show you the naming conventions will make that so much easier to manage. I'm just going to pop over to my sheet that I have created for this lesson and show you what I'm talking about. Now, here is a doc that I have with the naming conventions for this account or campaign. The thing is that there is no one correct answer for how to name your campaigns and ad sets and ads. But the point of the naming convention is that you can very easily tell what's going on within your campaign, your ad set, and your ads without having to go into each one every time and click in and see what's being targeted, the ads that are being used, and etc. So for the Facebook Business Manager, the standard that I generally stick to is for campaign name, I say the source, so the platform, the objective, the campaign dates, and the promo, so what the campaign is about. Then for ad set, I include the source again. Then it's all the targeting options that I've included. And for the ad, it's the placement, as in where it was on the platform. So for example, Facebook newsfeed. The ad format, whether it was a carousel or a single image or a video, and then the content of the ad. So the final naming conventions for this campaign are at the top here. The campaign name is this. These are all the different ad set names, just to give examples. And then the ad would follow this convention. What we're going to be doing while we are creating the campaign is just kind of going back and forth between Facebook Business Manager, the naming convention, and the campaign details with all the targeting and the ad copy, because we're going to essentially copy paste between these things to avoid any kind of errors with spelling or grammar, etc. Let's have a look at this campaign details doc so that you can see what I'm going to be putting in when we create the campaign. So as I mentioned, this is a made-up business called Demo Furniture Company. I've created a dummy Facebook page and they want to run a sales campaign. So the objective is sales from the 1st of June to the 30th of September with a budget of $12,000. And the target audience that was provided was males and females 24 to 55 living in Manhattan. The offer at this point is that it's going to be free delivery on orders over $500. I have a link with the images. The format is going to be carousel. There are 2 different versions of ad copy, which we'll be adding through when we do the campaign. You'll see just now. What I find quite handy to do is to keep note of the character limits of the different options So for the headline, it's a maximum of 40 characters, and the primary text is a maximum of 125 characters. Now, if I just go in here, you can see, hopefully, at the top here that there is a formula, and essentially it is just counting the number of characters in the headline, and then it will update, if that changes. And I find that just quite useful to make sure I'm not going over my character limit. It's the same on this side as well. We also have the link to the landing page that we'll be sending people to, the CTA button that we've chosen, and the description text as well. And you'll see the difference between description, primary text, and headline in a sec. Now, this target audience, as I mentioned, it's quite standard to be given a broad target audience like this. I've then added in additional targeting options that we could try in this campaign. But when we set up our first ad set, it will just be the broadest category. So literally, this is going to be what we're choosing. But let's get into it. So I'm going to open the Business Manager. This is what it looks like. It's very empty, no active campaigns. This is where you manage your page. So we're not worrying about that today. The campaigns sit in the ad account. So if you just select that, this is what it will default to, the campaigns tab of your ads manager. As you can see, there are no campaigns here. We could either click create ad, or we go to the top here on the left and click the green button to create a campaign. What we're going to do is go between this business manager page, our naming conventions tab, as well as the tab with all the ad copy and targeting. And we're going to copy paste things over into Business Manager. I like to do this to avoid any errors. So, you put your text or whatever you're including in your campaign in a document, you make sure it's grammatically correct, no spelling errors, etc. And then if you've done that once, you don't have to do it again if you're copy pasting, just making sure that there's consistency and no errors. So we go back here. We're going to choose our objective, which, as I mentioned, in this case is sales. So it would be conversions. If there was a data feed, so if we wanted to take advantage of Facebook shopping, then we could use catalog sales, but that's not the case here. We will be looking at e-commerce and shopping on Facebook in the third module. It's the first lesson. But let's just go to conversions. So we're going to be sending traffic to specific landing pages on a website. Okay. Now, if you scroll down, you can see this is where we would put the campaign name in. So I'm going to go back to my convention, copy that, put that in there. See, now I don't have to worry about any errors. If you're familiar with Facebook, then I would definitely recommend giving these options here a try. You can create a split test, so testing between certain creatives or placements or even audiences to see which performs better. And then there's the campaign budget optimization, which means instead of setting a budget on every ad set level, you would set it on campaign level, and Facebook will determine which ad sets get the most budget depending on performance. It's not necessarily the best thing. That's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's worth testing. We aren't going to do it now because we are just going forward with a straightforward campaign. This option here is just because I have set up a dummy account, but this wouldn't be a step if you've set everything up already. Okay, now we're moving on to our ad set. And if you've noticed, what I like quite a bit is that on the left here, it really just gives you a step-by-step of what you're going to have to choose. And you can click back and forth between different things if you need to. We're creating our first ad set. So we're going to go back to our naming convention and choose our ad set. And as I mentioned, I'm doing the broadest, simplest targeting at the moment. Copy that. Put that in here. Great. Okay, now this is where you would choose your conversion action. So what Facebook is going to be tracking within this campaign. Now we want to be tracking purchases. That is the objective of this campaign. And I don't, as you can see, have a pixel set up, as this is a made up business and a site and everything. But just to show you, there are some standard names and there should be a purchase. Okay. So if this was a real business, then I would have a pixel in place, probably on the thank you page after everyone has made a purchase or after someone has made a purchase. And that would fire and then record a conversion within the Facebook Business Manager. So we choose that. Again, you would have verified your pixel already if this is an existing business. And we are sending traffic to a website. So we keep it on the website instead of on app, Messenger, or WhatsApp. But these are the other options that you can send traffic to, which is pretty awesome. Dynamic creative. We aren't going to be doing this now, but this is essentially what we spoke about within Google Ads, in that you can upload various separate logos, images, ad copy, etc. And then what Facebook will do is automatically combine and rotate those different options until they see which ads and which combinations are performing best. And then those, of course, would be the ones that would be most served to people. We could also, if we wanted to, create an offer for this campaign. As I said, I haven't done a full-blown strategy for this entire thing, but an offer could be quite a nice addition, especially because this is a time-based campaign in that it's ending at the end of September. There is a special offer, so getting free delivery on orders over $500. So that could be the offer, and it might perform better than other ads. Again, it's something worth testing. But we're not going to do this now. We will look at it in a future module, possibly when we look at e-commerce. Now we need to define our audience. So this is our target. We're going to create a new audience as this is a new account. We will, however, save it, and then it will become available under the Saved Audience tab. Custom audiences is where you would upload your remarketing lists or lookalike lists. We will be looking at this in Module 3 as well. Now we scroll down to location. There are several options. The default is everyone in this location, but you can choose people who live in this location, recently in this location, and people traveling in this location. I do generally stick to the defaults unless there's a very specific reason not to. Going to remove South Africa. So we're not targeting South Africa. We are targeting Manhattan. So I will just type this in very quickly. It should appear. There we go. Manhattan, New York, United States. I'm not sure if you noticed that this updated. We had it on South Africa and the potential reach was something around 19 million people. Now it's changed. If we just target Manhattan and no other targeting changes at the moment, there's a potential reach of 3.5 million people. Now, if we just go back and remind ourselves what the target ages are, it's males and females from 24 to 55. So we select that from these drop downs. And you can see on the right that the results are changing again. That's supposed to be 24. Okay, now you can see the potential reach has been reduced by 1 million to 2.5 million people. Gender is all. Languages, I'm going to leave blank as we are targeting English speakers. If you're targeting other languages though, then you would definitely put that in here. Moving down to detailed targeting. Now we aren't going to be adding any additional targeting options, including people, but we do want to exclude people. And the reason why we want to do that is because this is our broadly targeted ad set. But in another ad set, we're going to be drilling it down a bit. So we're going to target people, again, all males and females between the ages of 24 to 55 in Manhattan. But then if we go back to this, we're going to add this additional targeting, but in other ad sets. So now, because we don't want any overlap between the broad target and these more defined people, for lack of a better word, we actually want to exclude this from the broad targeting. So if we go back to the Ads Manager, click on Exclude People, Now we have the same options as include, except it's going to be excluding. So the first one was engaged shoppers, which is a targeting option within Facebook. You should see it pop up. There we go. It's a behavior. Then we're also going to exclude online shopper, which was in this sheet. Home interior design. And just remind myself what the other is. Interior design. Okay. So now we have excluded people who match any of these behaviors or interests. And you can see here on the right that the potential reach decreased from 2.5 million to 1.3 million people. We can now also see some estimated daily results, but I do need to highlight that it is estimated, especially with this account, it being completely new. What these results are based off is similar accounts and previous campaigns that those businesses have run, but it has got no insight into your or this specific business and how it performs. So it really is an estimate. I wouldn't really pay it much attention. It's quite nice to see the potential reach. That is quite accurate, but this is not so much. I'm going to untick this box that says expand your detailed targeting to reach more people when it's likely to improve performance. Because this is the broad targeting with no additional interests, and I don't want there to be any overlap or as little overlap as possible between the different ad sets that we're going to create. So I'm going to untick that. The potential reach doesn't change. We're not going to be adding a connection type, but if we were targeting our page followers or friends of page followers, or we wanted to exclude our page followers, then this is where we would do that. And now we can save this audience. I would recommend having it as almost as the same as the ad set name, which has the targeting in it. So if we go there, here it is. And the only thing that maybe I would add is that we are targeting Manhattan. So let's put that at the end. Perfect. Save. So let's just check in with where we are. We have chosen our campaign objective. We have set the conversion to track, the audience, so the targeting, which we've saved. And now it is time to choose the placements. The default selection is that it's automatic. And what this means is that you will show ads on Facebook and Instagram and on all placements. So the newsfeed, story, marketplace, in article, all of those different placements. We don't want to do that now. And generally, I don't have one campaign that targets both Instagram and Facebook, just because for me, I feel it gives better control and you can more easily see which is performing better and make changes accordingly. However, it is not wrong at all to include all the placements and all both platforms in the same campaign. It's not an issue. It's recommended, so there's clearly nothing wrong with it. But from a performance perspective, from control, from optimization, I do prefer to segment that. So in this case, we're going to be editing the placements because we're not advertising on Instagram. We are advertising on all devices, so you can just choose to advertise on mobile or desktop, but we are choosing both. I'm going to deselect Instagram, Messenger, and the audience network. So now we just have Facebook remaining, but then we still need to go and deselect the placements that we don't want our ads to appear on. Feeds, that is the main feed, the main screen that you see when you're scrolling through Facebook. We want all our ads to appear on the Facebook news feed. There's nothing wrong with the other placements. And again, it's always something worth testing. But I do find that this placement of the Facebook newsfeed generally receives the most traffic or the most impressions and performs the best. out of, let's say, for example, the right column. So let's just say this would be the right column on the Facebook page, and then this would be the feed. So this is where your ads will appear as opposed to here. So we deselect everything and just choose the feed. I'm going to deselect the stories. If I was going to be targeting a stories placement, then I would have that within another ad set. So it wouldn't be within the same ad set as the Facebook newsfeed placement. You can see that from deselecting all of the placements and only having the Facebook newsfeed, that the potential reach has reduced to 1.1 million people. It's just a difference of 200,000 people. If it had reduced hugely, let's say from 1.3 million to 200,000, then I would look at including additional placements, because we don't want to make the reach or the potential reach too low, because then we run the risk of our campaigns not running or performing as well as they could. But this is still perfectly fine in my eyes. So we scroll down. We are targeting all mobile devices. You can choose specific operating systems, Android or iOS or feature phones. Now it is time to choose our budget and our schedule. Now the optimization for ad delivery is set to conversions, because this is a conversion objective campaign. This, of course, wouldn't be here. Your pixel would be ready. Then there is a cost control, which is optional. As you can see, you can set a target cost per purchase. And the operative word there is a target. I've said this before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will achieve that target. Sometimes if the target is too low, then you won't get any impressions. The campaign essentially won't spend at all. And if your target is too high, then you're actually potentially paying more than you should be. You know, you could have achieved better results. So what I do recommend, at least in the beginning, is to let it run without a cost control, especially as it's also a new account. And then as performance or as results start coming in, then you can make changes, set different cost controls if you want, set up a split test, etc. But from the beginning, just keep it pretty straightforward. Budget and schedule. You can either choose a daily budget or a lifetime budget. If you set a lifetime budget, then you have to set a start and end date. There are pros and cons to both, and it depends on the campaign, on the budget, on the competition, on your landing page and conversion rates. So I'm going to stick with daily budget, as that's straightforward. It can sometimes spend over your daily budget, but overall, throughout the whole campaign, it won't spend more than the total that you have allocated. So the daily budget is not $20. We have a budget of, let's check, 12,000. I did this calculation earlier. So there are 122 days between the 1st of June and the 30th of September. So if we divide that by 12,000, then our daily budget is $98.3. So we put that in here, and we should see the estimated daily results change. Now, even if you have just set a daily budget, you can still set a start and end date. I'm going to keep it on run my ad set continuously starting today, because what you can do is after you've created your campaign and your ad sets and your ad, it doesn't have to run straight away. It's not just going to automatically run. You can pause it and just reactivate it when you want the campaign to begin, or you can schedule it, and then from that date, it will start running on its own. The default conversion window, and I hope you remember what the conversion window is. A conversion window is the average amount of days that it takes for someone to convert, to achieve that conversion that you're tracking, from clicking your ad or viewing your ad to making that purchase. The default is for Facebook 7 days click or 1 day view. I'm going to change this to 7 days click. So removing the view option, just because experience has shown me that the 1 day view option can sometimes allow Facebook to credit itself for a lot more performance than what actually is the case. Again, though, it's not incorrect or anything like that. It's something that you will analyze and get to know with time. We are buying this on a CPM basis. There's no option to change this. So cost per 1,000 impressions. So this means that even if no one clicks on your ads, if people are viewing them, then you will be charged. Of course, if no one is clicking on your ads, then that is a problem that needs to be resolved. But yes. Then ad scheduling is not an option because we haven't set a cost control. But you can choose to run ads on a schedule on certain days of the week, certain hours. It is very handy. And if you've come up with a full-blown strategy, let's say, for example, you want to serve different ads on the weekend than you do during the week, or you want to increase your bids on weekday afternoons versus weekday mornings, then this is where you would do your ad scheduling. But because we don't have the cost control, and also because it's a new account, a new campaign, we don't know how things are going to perform, we're leaving it as run ads all the time. Then the delivery type is standard, which is recommended. There's another option to accelerate it. Again, it's only available if you have a cost control in place, but that essentially would try and spend your budget, your daily budget, as quickly in the day as possible with the best performance possible. But standard is more even. Again, it's a new campaign. This is what you need to just stick with in the beginning. And that is the end of the ad set. So you can see that the ad set houses the conversion action, the targeting, the placements, and the budget and schedule. If we continue on now to the ad, we have our ad name at the top, so we go back to our naming convention and select that. Identity, this is your Facebook page, and this is why you need to link your Facebook page to your ad account. There isn't an Instagram placement because we aren't advertising on Instagram, but if we were, it would be here. You don't actually have to have an Instagram account or page to advertise on Instagram because of the link with Facebook. So what would happen there is that on Instagram, any clicks onto your name, so Demo Furniture Company, would lead people to the Facebook page as opposed to an Instagram account. There are 3 options for the ads. You can either create an ad from scratch, use an existing post, which we can't do as this is a new page with no posts. And some businesses don't actively post on their pages. They purely have them for advertising purposes. But then you can also use a mock-up. And this is where the Creative Hub comes in, which we'll be looking at just now. The format, you can choose either a carousel, which is what we're doing today, at least in this part. If you have multiple high quality assets, including both video and images, then adding an instant experience is definitely something worth testing. Okay, now we are going to be loading the images and copy of the ads. You can see here there are 3 cards. That's what each image is called. And you can add up to 10 in a carousel, which is perfect if you are a business that has a lot of different products or just a lot of beautiful imagery that you want to showcase. So we're going to select our image first. These were previously loaded into the account, so I'm just going to choose them here, but otherwise I would go to upload. So that is the first image. You can see it's 1080 by 1080. I'm going to go ahead and just add all the images first, and then we can go back and add the different copy. So the second image. You see how much easier and more streamlined this is when you have everything properly prepared. It's definitely worth it. Third image. Okay, perfect. So now we go back to the first image. We need to include the headline. It is optional, but I definitely recommend it. So let's go back to our ad copy now, and we're going to add the first headline. Paste that in. Now, the description is this little bit of text that would appear here. So it's different to the primary text, which you'll see just now, but that will appear at the top here. So for the description, I had said that we would include the color and price, but I'm not going to make those up now. So I'm literally just going to put this copy in the box. And you'll see it should, the preview has updated. Then we have the website URL. Copy that, and you'll see that I had previously created a UTM. Definitely, please do that. You can also do it here. If we click on there, you can see. And because I've already added a UTM, it's populated the different categories that I've used. I didn't use content as a category. I used name, medium, and source. This is essentially that same process that we went through in module 1 when we were talking about UTMs. It's essentially the same thing, but sitting within Facebook, which is pretty handy. Okay, I'm going to go to the second image and do the same. You could have a different headline for each card. It's completely up to you. Okay, and then color and price again. The last one. Okay, so you can see we haven't done the primary text yet. It won't be different for each image. It just appears at the top across all the images. But if we scroll down, it says here, automatically show the best performing cards first. I'm going to deselect that because I specifically created these images to be shown in this order. If it was mixed around, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't look as appealing. So I'm deselecting that. There's also the option to add a card, so another image at the end with your page profile picture. It's up to you again, whether you want to do that or not. I'm going to deselect it. Now here is where we will add the primary text. So we'll go back to our add copy, get that. Then we're going to add the URL. Now this URL is the same as the URLs that I've added to each image. But what you can do with a carousel is have a separate URL for each image. Let's say your first image is of your couches. So you want to direct people to the couches category section of your website. The next image is shelving. So you want to send them to the shelving category, etc. And then for the see more URL, that could be a more generic URL. Let's say going to your homepage. I'm going to leave the see more display link because we chose not to add an additional card at the end with our page logo. That would also include a link that you have specified. Then we had said that our call to action would be shop now. So we change that. Scroll down. There we go. And there we have our ad. If we look at the desktop preview, then you can get a much better idea of it. You can actually scroll between the images. And then if you scroll down, this is where you just confirm that the tracking is what you need it to be. And then all we need to do is confirm. And there we have it. This is our campaign. It says that there aren't any ads here, which is not the case. It's just because it's not delivering now. It's not live. As I don't actually want this campaign to spend any money, I'm going to deactivate it. And you do that by just clicking this button here. You can see at the top, this is what gives you an update of what it's doing. And there we go. Now it's a gray button. So you know that it has been paused. Now, this is something that I really love about the Facebook Business Manager, and it's not really something that you're going to see with just one campaign. But what's great is that, let's say you have 10 campaigns, okay, and you want to see the ad sets from just a few of them. Instead of going into each individual campaign and checking those ad sets, you can just select the the campaign here. And then you just navigate over to the ad sets tab. And you can see here it says ad sets for one campaign. If I had selected 2 or 3, then it would be 2 or 3. So you can move over to this tab and then you can see the ad sets. You can then also go down one level into the ads by selecting the ad sets that you want to see the ads for, and then navigating over to the ads tab. You can see here we do have an ad. It is in review, so it's being looked at by the Facebook bots and things to make sure it is all in line with their policies, and then it'll be approved. It obviously won't deliver because we have paused it. Now, it looks active here, so even though we've paused the campaign, you'll still see an active ad and ad set, but the campaign is definitely paused. So we have created a campaign, but so far it only has one ad set and one ad in it. Now, in some accounts, it's a relatively new feature where within the same ad, you can add different copy. So you can add different versions of copy. And what Facebook will then do is show the different versions of those ads and again, optimize for what is performing best. However, this is a new account with no spend, so those kinds of features aren't available to us. It's a really cool addition and something that's been a long time coming. But what you can do if you don't have something like that is to go to your ads, select your ad, duplicate it at the top here. We want to add it into the original or the existing campaign and ad set. We don't want to change anything else. We only want one copy of the ad. And now, instead of having to do this whole process again, all we need to do is go and change the copy of this ad. So now we go back to our ad copy doc and we take the second row of copy, and that's what we're going to use. So we do the same process, paste that in. Color and price remains the same. The URL isn't changing. It's really the headline. There we go. If we scroll now down to the primary text and check the stock again, we have different primary text. Paste that in. The call to action remains the same, although you could also, of course, test a different one. And then we can publish. Now I would rename this. Perhaps this could be copy A and copy B. You can do that very easily by clicking on the pencil icon. And there we go. I'll just do one to show you. Copy B. Publish. So now, very simply, we have one ad set with our broad targeting, and then we have our 2 ads with the same images for the carousel, but different copy. These ads won't each spend $98.3 a day. This budget is set at the ad set level, so the entire ad set will spend that daily budget, not each individual ad. So we are in a happy place with our first ad set. We've got our targeting, we've got our ads and the different versions of copy, but now we want to go and add additional targeting. So instead of having to, again, create that whole process from scratch, we can go to our ad set tab. And like we did with the ads, we can select and we can duplicate this entire ad set. And that will duplicate the ad set as well as the ads in it. So original campaign or existing campaign, in this case, it's the same thing. We could set up a split test, but we're not going to do that now. We only need, at this point, one copy of the ad set. So we can duplicate that. And now instead of changing the ads, we're going to be changing the targeting in the ad set. So if we go back to our naming conventions, we can see here we've got another ad set that's called online shopper interests. So I copy that over, paste that in. We scroll down to our audience. Now, I don't want to edit the saved audience because if I edit it and then save it, it changes the targeting in the other ad set, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to go and create a new audience. I'm going to add Manhattan again. (24 to 55). Leaving languages blank. Now, instead of excluding certain interests, we're going to be including interests. So if we go back again to our doc with our copy and targeting, this one is the online shopper interests. That's the grouping or the naming convention that I've chosen. And what I'm going to select then is the engaged shoppers and the online shoppers. So we go back, select that. Engaged shoppers, online shoppers. Now you can see here that the potential reach has actually decreased quite a bit to 430,000 people, but that's not a bad thing. That is why we have multiple ad sets, so that we can have different targeting options, reach as many people as possible without there being an overlap, and then of course building on what we see is performing best. So let's say when we run this campaign that the broad targeting ad set doesn't perform. It just spends money, no purchases, nothing. We could then pause that ad set while letting the others continue on. You know, we're not affecting those ad sets, which is why it's such a good idea to segment this targeting and your interests and your behaviors into as many ad sets as makes sense. But now, because the budget has been allocated on ad set level and we only calculated the budget with one ad set in mind, we have now given this campaign a total budget of $24,000 instead of $12,000. So we need to reduce each of these ad sets budgets by 50%. So half them, as there are two. Obviously, if we're going to add more, then we would divide it by the number of ad sets that we have. So it's the $12,000 budget divided by 122 days, which is $98.30, just over. But then we take that 98.3 and divide it by the number of ad sets that we have. So we can go in here and just change that. Half of 98.3 is 49.15. Do the same here. Well done, everybody. You now know how to build a Facebook campaign. I think this is a good time to remind you that you can go back at any stage and watch recordings of any of these lessons. Also, the toolkits, which are an additional fee, but they do have summary notes and slides of every lesson. So you might find that useful, especially with a lesson like this. I have another challenge for you on this lesson, but first up, let's see what's coming up in lesson 6, which is all about planning a search campaign. We'll be looking at quality score and ad rank, bidding and non-keyword targeting, keyword research specifically for Google search, and then ad copy preparation. This is all lining it up for lesson 7, which is where we will actually start to implement everything for Google search. As I'm sure you've gathered by now, Google Ads in general is quite a beast, so it requires at least one lesson for planning. So a quick recap of what we looked at this lesson. We looked at creating a campaign in Business Manager, which included looking at naming conventions, target selection and structure. as well as add copy and creative assets. Thank you so much, everybody. You have now completed 5 lessons in Module 3 of your professional diploma. I will see you very soon for Lesson 6. I'm looking forward to it. Bye, everybody.